In this video, we're going to work with two worksheets. This is for the Exam2 review. So we're going to work with flash fill, and we're going to work with text functions. So these are the first two tabs on our worksheet. So if we have data and it's really not in the format that we want, fortunately, we can have Excel do that for us. So for example, we have name and phone number, and I want to separate first name and last name, and then I want to make some changes with the phone number. We can do this with the flash fill. So column C is going to be Scott, but I wanted to capitalize the first letter of his name. So we'll just type in Scott. And then we'll hit enter, and then we'll type in Amelia. And you'll see as you start typing it, you will get a list of what the third and fourth and etc. rows will pick up. So all you gotta do is hit enter. If it doesn't pick it up, all you need to do is go to data and click, I gotta make it a little bigger, flash fill. And my screen's a little small for the video. We can do the same thing for last name. So we can type in person's name. I want it capitalized. So I type in capitalized. So I'm just going to leave that alone. I'm going to just use the flash fill. If I just click flash fill, it will pick that up. So if it doesn't give you your options, it would have if I started typing in Nesbitt. You can always use the flash fill, and that just kind of forces Excel to do the work. Phone with area code, I want to have it a little different. I want to actually have parentheses around the area code. So I'll just put parentheses. 937 close parentheses space, and then just type in the rest of the phone number 0155, and then I hit enter, and then I can use flash fill, and that will fill and create that pattern. So that is using the flash fill for the text that we want to manipulate. The next way we can manipulate text and work with text is to use the actual text functions. The flash fill and letting Excel pull things out of text works sometimes, not all the time. So there are a variety of functions that you can use to help work with text. And I have a list here. The first two, this actually just returns a character position. So the first function is the find function. And the arguments with the find function is find text. This is what I'm looking for. So if you're looking for, let's say, the @ sign or a space, you can do double quote at double quote. And then comma, and then the second argument is within text. So where is it going to find that? So usually it's a cell address. The equal len, that's the length. This will just tell you how long that text is. So you tell it you can either type text in within the word text or just provide the cell address. The next one, and actually left is the first one we can talk about. This will return a number of characters starting from the left side of the text. So you provide the arguments, the text, again, usually a cell address, and then how many characters. If you have a name and the first name is 4 characters, then you would do whatever the name was, whatever the address was, and then comma 4 would be the number of characters. The right function just does the same thing, but it starts from the right-hand side. So you provide the cell address for the text, and then how many do you want to retrieve? Now, it still does it from left to right, but it will count from the right however many characters, and then it'll return those. The mid, a little more complicated. This will tell you, this is a midway text function. So you have your text, again, the cell address, and what character number do you want to start with? So I want to start with character 8. And then how many do you want to return from that? I want starting at character 8, and I want 4. And so you could have 8 comma 4, and that would retrieve those number of characters. And the last, this allows you to affect text that may not have been consistently upper and lowercase. So proper will take, and the first letter of each word will be capitalized and everything else will be lowercase. So if you started with something that was all lowercase, it would just capitalize the first words. If it was something that was all capitals, it would leave the first character capitalized, and everything else would be lowercase. Lower does basically takes whatever case you have and it makes it lowercase. So if you have a mixture of upper and lowercase words or letters, it will lowercase everything. So these are just some of the different text functions we'll use in the text function worksheet. So in this one, we have a name, and we want to actually pull out the first name and the last name. So in order to do that, if we want to do the first name, for Scott, we want to pull the first 5 characters. And for Amelia, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're varying. So what we want to do is find the character that has the space, and we're also going to find the length. We'll be using that a little bit later. So find space. So we'll type in equal, find. The character we are looking for is a space, so you just do a double quote, hit the space bar and double quote, and then where is it going to find that? It'll be an A4. We'll close the function and we'll hit enter, and we can just bring that down. So Scott will be this 5 letters, and then the space is the 6th character. For Amelia, the space is the 7th character. And then the length is equal, L-E-N, again, A4. We can close that, and that just tells us the length of the text here. And this just shows you the varying positions. Okay, so the first name is pretty straightforward. So this is in D4, so we'll type in equal left because we're starting from the left. The text we're going to be looking for is in A4, and then we want to find the number of characters. Now, we know that the space is at the 6th character. We don't want the space sitting here, so what we can do is use B4, and then we'll subtract 1. So B4 is 6, subtract 1 will be 5, so it's the first 5 characters, and then we'll close our parentheses. Now, in this example, we actually provided a column to find a space and to do a length. You could have, where I have B4 here, I could have actually done that find function, but sometimes you'll find it's easier just to separate it. So we'll just hit enter, and then we can just bring that down. Now, the last name is going to be a little different, a little more challenging. So we're going to start with the right, because we want to go from the right side of the text box. And the text, of course, is in A4. And then we want to start where the space is. And so we know that the number of characters for this person's name is 15. And then if we subtract 6 from that, then we get 9. So we know that we're going to do 9 characters. And if you look at his last name, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 characters. So we'll do C4 minus B4. And that just pulls up his last name. Now, there may be other ways of doing it, no problem. But I think that these two, just by exploring the left and the right functions, serve, for the most part, everything you're going to be doing. Again, as we did with the other one, we could have substituted the length function for C4 and the find function for B4. Okay, so what we want to do here is get our phone number that is just the actual phone number without the area code. And fortunately, we have a variety of consistency here. So we're going to use the midway, so the midpoint. So we'll type in equal mid, and it wants to know the text. Well, that's F5. And it wants to know our starting point. Well, every area code has 3 letters, and then we have the dash. So we want to actually start at position 5. If I started at position 4, it would include the dash. I don't want the dash. And then we are going to have it give us 8 characters. Phone numbers are 7 characters plus the hyphen. and then we'll close this out. So the midpoint is looking for the character that starts the phone number, which is the 5th character, and we want 8 of those characters, and we'll hit enter. And then we will bring this down. Now, the last one is we want to actually generate an email address. So we're going to use a variety of functions, and we're going to use concatenate. This particular company uses the first letter of the first name and 5 letters of the last name. So we can do this. We could create individual columns and concatenate it, but we're going to just do this all in one long function. So we're going to type in equal lower, because you'll notice that the first letter of the first name is capital and the first letter of the last name is capital. So we want everything to be lowercase. So I want to create that first one, and that's the first name. So we're going to use a left, and that's going to do D4, and it's just going to retrieve one character. So close that. And this is where it's important when you're doing nesting of functions. You want to make sure that all of your functions are closed as you're working with them. And actually, I'm going to hit escape here, and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you can see what I'm typing. I think that's kind of small, so we'll start this one from scratch. There we go. So we type in equal lower, and then the first part of that character is going to be left, which is D4, 1. We just want the first character. Oops, can't forget the open parentheses. So again, the format for the email is the first letter of the first name and 5 letters of the last name. So now we want to concatenate this with the last name. So we'll just use the ampersand. And then again, we want left. And this time it's going to be E4. And we just want 5 characters. If they were doing 7 characters or 8 characters, we could use that. Or if you're using the full name, you wouldn't need to use the function. You would just have E4 here. And so we will close that. And then we're going to do concatenate. And then we're going to include in essence, a fake email address. So we need double quotes. Use the @ sign. And then let's say we'll just call this abc123.org. Close the double quotes, and we'll close the parenthesis. So we used the lowercase because the names were uppercased. And then the left, this first left function, just retrieved the first letter of the first name. And then we concatenated that, say that 5 times. The last name, we only wanted 5 characters. And then we concatenated that with the text at abc123.org. And there's our email address. It's not unusual for some companies to use part of the last name and part of the first name, part of the first name, part of the last name, just variety of ways of creating an email address. So that is using text functions.